This episode is brought to you by Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. Stay tuned to hear how you can get your first month of Podbean for free. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other. Aww. I'm Kevin Lau.
I'm Ryan Davis.
I'm Zach Wright. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing good. Now that we are rebooted, baby.
It's a revival, Kevin.
Don't call it a comeback.
Oh, God.
So today, if you couldn't tell from our usual jokester selves, today we are talking about revivals. As far as what's good, what's bad, and what is ugly. Thankfully, the good, bad, and the ugly didn't get a revival. But I haven't seen the original, so I can't really say anything else about that. I'm a fake film fan. What else can I say?
You fake film fan, Kevin.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for acknowledging I'm a fake film fan.
Since
you're so smart.
All the movie opinions Kevin has gotten on me about are actually right? He's a fake film fan?
No.
Let's not start
but
that
since you guys knew that already, how would you classify a revival?
Okay, so our definition of revival, because we had a nice, half-hour long talk about defining a revival or differentiating between a revival, a reboot, and what was the other one? Sequel. So we are classifying revival as the general overall reboot, as the titular quote everyone says now, everything's a reboot. We're calling that a revival. So for example, the Star Wars sequels and even the Star Wars prequels can be identified as a revival. Cobra Kai, a revival. Any show on CBS right now that my parents watch is a revival.
Look, I know I said not to call it a comeback, but essentially we're talking about a comeback. Yes. They've been gone for a bit and then they came back.
Yes, exactly. So I'm looking at our list right now. So they're very much different ones, like Tomb Raider, both the games and films, stuff like that.
Way to steal my topic.
You'll get there. You'll explain why it's good. I'm not giving them the why, but anything basically that all the new Godzilla movies that are coming out, King Kong movies. So that's a revival. So anything else you guys want to add to the definition of revival?
There's also TV shows. I have nothing to add.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I was waiting for Zach to respond.
I was very much no shit.
But not books, because apparently books don't get revivals. Literature lasts forever. It totally isn't. Classic novels aren't totally reimagined as young adult novels. Not at all.
I guess you could technically say The Hunger Games are getting a revival, but not really.
That's a prequel, isn't it?
It is a prequel, but it's technically a revival. But I haven't read it, so I can't say anything about it.
Anywho, Kevin, what would you consider a good revival?
Well, as Zach stole from my notes by peeking over my shoulder instead of looking at his own notes, Tomb Raider is a franchise I consider to be a really good revival. Back in 2012, 2011, somewhere around there was there was a reboot, quote unquote, to the games. Instead of if you don't know Tomb Raider is basically like Indiana Jones but a woman, and it was back in PlayStation 1 days. Then it's not, but it's there's more action because obviously it's a video game than Indiana Jones. You go to a tomb, you find treasure, you fight dinosaurs in the first game. It's great. So Tomb Raider is about Laura Croft as an archaeologist that finds treasure and fights all those people and monsters and all that stuff. It includes a lot of supernatural elements as well. So in the terms of the game reboot, they decided to take this really campy idea of a video game and turn it into a more quote unquote dark, gritty game, but it's dark and gritty with a purpose. It is about Laura Croft is no longer a sexualized video game figure. She is now an actual character with motivations and goals and whatnot.
Woo, feminism.
Yeah. And in the gameplay, got a whole new remaster as well, so it's just plays a lot smoother, and it's just graphically superior. And it's really
Yes.
fantastic. I highly recommend playing it. Then also in terms of film, the original Lara Croft. Man, I should have done my research. I totally forgot who played Lara Croft before.
Oh.
But there were two movies in like early 2000s where
Wasn't it Angelina
know,
Jolie?
Yeah,
it was
that's
Angelina Jolie. That's what it was. Yeah, and then so she was very highly sexualized in the films. It's very like, just look up clips on YouTube. Like it's like, wait a second, this is our female protagonist. Weird. And but in the new movie in 2016,
2018.
2018.
Yes.
Man, I should have written these down in my notes. So 2018, there's a reboot starring Alicia Vikander that was based on the 2012 game, loosely, and I feel like it does a much better job of making Lara Croft a protagonist, and that definitely does not sexualize her at all in this new movie. And it's not the greatest movie ever. Like, it's just a very standard, run of the mill Indiana Jones adventure type story. But it is really interesting to see how we move from the Angelina Jolie movies to the new one, where she's not sexualized at all.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. That's a very good example. Ryan, what are your examples?
Okay, so when you guys mentioned this topic, I was like, oh, I have nothing. And then literally I had everything. Because most of my stuff, I'm going to be the kid here, because I watched a lot of animated stuff. But basically a lot of my things I consider to be good. The new Voltron show on Netflix. Go watch it. We binged it. I binged it all throughout my college career. 8 seasons. It's great. DuckTales, which Kevin got me hooked on.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically taking what was already good and making it 10 times better with a more solid story. Animaniacs, if you ever watched the original back in 1998, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, they revived it this past year. They make a lot more political jokes because they had a lot more material. Thanks, Trump. The one good thing you ever... No, nothing.
I would stop there. Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've done like 7 different reboots of the characters. That's been good. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Solid mystery adventure story with Scooby-Doo's characters. It's more of a actual story with an overarching plot. Darker. Yeah. And it kind of goes into a lore of what the Scooby-Doo characters are.
Mm-hmm.
And Young Justice, kind of, because it kind of revitalized the teen superhero with that ended with Teen Titans, and also kind of revives the DC universe in general, because it got killed and then it got brought back to life literally 8 years later, almost 6 to 7 years.
It's pretty long, yeah.
Yeah, it got canceled back in like 2012 and brought back in 2019. And people loved it. It got a whole revival thing, but I mean I think Young Justice does better with the DC universe than probably the movies and the other TV series.
Probably. Well, it's funny you would mention Ninja Turtles, because Ninja Turtles has a bunch of revivals and reboots because they're always trying to keep it fresh. But I haven't seen all of them, but I haven't seen a bad Ninja Turtles revival.
I'll say the 2003 series was probably the best, because
that's the one I grew up with.
Yeah, that's the one most people grew up with, at least our age. But I think that's probably the best because it does like a lot of the lore. It deals with a lot of the characters. You see the different adventures. And then the 2012 I think is probably next best, only because it kind of takes what was already good from the 2003 series, but then it kind of hits the nostalgia for people who watch the 1980 series, because it's more based off of that. The theme song itself is literally a remix of the 1980s theme song.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the 2010, that's the Nickelodeon CGI one, right?
Yeah, that's the 2000. Yeah, that's the one it is.
Well, then there's a new 2D one.
Yeah, there's
correct?
a new 2D one, and it's more anime style. They literally had an entire fight. The turtles' weapons allow them to teleport and make shadow clones, and They watch a lot of Naruto, I'm assuming. But
Nice.
Zach, you have one topic which you've been trying to get me to watch for weeks now.
Yes. So I think this episode will come out after the episode we talked with Davey about Cobra Kai. So my answer for a good revival is Cobra Kai. I'll keep it short and sweet because I talked mostly about it in that episode with Davey and Kevin. Basically, like my gumption for you guys to go like watch it is that it's the writer's love for the source material is translated into the series. Cobra Kai is basically a love letter to every fan, person, man, woman, child who watched the Karate Kid when they're younger, and it's meant for them. You'll understand most of the references. The writers actually cared for the source material, and that's what is so important to like Cobra Kai. Like that's what makes it really good.
Definitely, yeah. No, if you really want to like know our in-depth opinions on that, you can go check out the episode talking about Cobra Kai. It should be labeled "Cobra Kai Never Dies" or something like that.
Yes, correct.
I should know the title. I wrote the title.
You did write the title.
Come on,
Cobra
Kevin.
Kai Never Died. That's what it's called.
Yes. But I'm gonna transition over to what revival would you consider bad. I can't think of one off the top of my head, and I've had a while to do it. So I'm just gonna rattle off some of the ones my mom sent me, a list of different good, middle of the road, and bad revivals, and then you guys can transition into what you guys think are good or what are bad revivals. Sound good?
Are we allowed to say which takes of hers are correct or incorrect?
Sure. Yeah, you can call her out. I don't care. Okay, so for the good side, she thinks that Hawaii Five-0 reboot was good, a revival. MacGyver, Cobra Kai, The New Odd Couple, Dallas, and Friday Night Lights is way better than the movie.
I mean, they sound correct to me.
I can agree with MacGyver. I didn't know Hawaii Five-0 was a reboot, and the other ones I have not watched, the original or the new ones.
Good Lord, man. You don't need to watch the Friday Night Lights movie. That one's terrible. I tried watching. I'm like, this is awful. And my sister and I walked out. Middle of the road was Fuller House. I mean, I haven't really heard great things about it. I just know it's a thing. So.
I hear mixed things about it. So some people love it, some people hate it.
Bad, Magnum PI, Dynasty, and I guess I don't know why my mom put Ghostbusters on here, but she never saw it. So I don't get it.
Wait, that's for middle of the road?
No, bad. Sorry, bad.
Oh, for bad. Oh, well, yeah. So Ghostbusters is fine. I didn't have a problem with it.
This is the 2016, 2018 one with all the females, right? Yeah, all the females.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had no problem with it.
Wait, what?
I had no problem with that movie.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like it was just an okay movie. It's just like the weird part. It was like, why did they reboot it when they even brought back the original cast for cameos?
Right. Yeah.
Like clearly, like everyone was on board for another movie, so like it was kind of weird to do a reboot like that.
The first trailer even said it was like, years ago this is what happened, and now we have these new people. So it was intentionally supposed to be a sequel. Right,
but it ended up not being that. So it was just kind of weird. It was like, all right, whatever. It was fun. But we're getting Ghostbusters Afterlife, which looks stupid.
Really good. It looks really good. What are you talking about?
It looks
over the top. It looks over the top.
But like I'm hoping that it just keeps it's still tongue in cheek throughout the whole thing, which the trailer shows that it is. But I hope it doesn't take itself too seriously, because Ghostbusters of Charm of it was that how not serious it was.
They're gonna try and Stranger Things it, because every single.
Is it just because you had Finn Wolfhard in it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
I mean, look, every single 80s thing now is like trying to just Stranger Things itself. I'm sorry, it is.
Because Stranger Things was actually good, so people were like, "Oh, let's just copy what's good and make money." And then it turns out like, "Oh, actually, it turns out you need to know what you're doing before you do stuff like that."
Star Wars. Anyhow, Kevin, what do you think is a bad revival?
Like you said, there's a lot to choose from. Revivals are notoriously known for being bad, but one in particular that maybe not many people have seen is Left Behind with Nicolas Cage. Like, not that it had a lot going for it from the start, but the first movies with Kirk Cameron already had like a pretty low bar, and then this one just somehow found new depths to go to.
Kevin, I read the books and I saw the first movie and I saw this one, and yes, it's awful.
But it's like, basing on the source material from the book, like, it only takes like half the first book, maybe not even. It's just kind of like, because Nicolas Cage is this pilot that's trying to land a plane while everyone disappears during I'm a bad Christian now. What was it called, Ryan?
The Rapture.
The Rapture. Everyone who disappears went to heaven, vanish, all that stuff. And then like he's trying to land a plane. In terms of like the source material, landing the plane was just the first 2 chapters, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
The whole movie is just him trying to land the plane. Which, yeah, and then it's 90 minutes of that with a low budget. Have
it's
fun.
Basically, speed in the air.
If it goes below 900 miles an hour, we're going to fall. Yeah, sir, that's how planes work.
It's speed with Nicolas Cage in the air. That's all you need to know about
I feel like Nonstop is a better example of speed in the
yeah,
air, but
that's
whatever.
fair.
It's fine. Just you can find it on Blu-ray at Dollar Tree. That's how great it is.
Oh,
What about you, Ryan?
Okay, so I have a few. I don't know if you guys ever watched Code Lyoko at all.
I've seen bits of it here and there when I was younger.
It was on Cartoon Network. I think it was a phenomenal show because it blended 2D and 3D animation very well. But they came out with a revival, like I don't even know. It was like a few years ago, but it was terrible because not many people know this. Code Lyoko is French. It's a French anime, but so
which I didn't know until you mentioned it before we started recording. I was like, oh, Code Lyoko had a remake? What?
yeah, it's French. So the problem is they rebooted it and they made it live action, and it's French. So
what's wrong with French? Because
well, I mean,
the problem isn't that it's in French. The problem is that it's live action. You can't dub it.
Yeah, you can't dub it well. So it's like you just see their mouths moving. It's like, well, that's not what they're saying. And then it also doesn't help that it's live action, so the characters look nothing like they do when they go into the 3D world. Because they still have the original looks that they had in the original show. In the 3D world, it's like they're revamped, but like their live action counterparts look nothing like that. And they look ridiculous. So yeah.
So they clear things up. Yeah, sorry. They clear things up for the audience. Like Code Lyoko is, it was a French anime, quote unquote, where like about these kids who go into computer world to fight hackers or something.
Yeah, fight a computer virus. It was an evil computer virus.
So it's like Cyber Chase, but
darker.
and you don't learn anything.
Because like at the end of most episodes, people die, and then they reverse time, and all the people don't die because that would be bad.
Right, and then like the original show is like when it's in the real world, it's all 2D animated like an anime style. Then when they're in the computer world, it's all 3D CGI on a TV budget in like early 2000s. So.
Which honestly, it still looked good for an early 2000s TV budget. Yeah, the worlds were empty, but like they only needed to make a few monsters and not the characters.
Yeah, and not just a 2000s TV budget, 2000s kid TV budget. Like that's like the lowest of the low. But it's on Netflix right now currently, so I actually might be checking it out sometime soon.
Full series.
But you also have a couple other things listed, right?
Just Disney shows, Disney live action shows, or just maybe like they try to revive them so often. Like they did That's So Raven into Raven's Home. They did Boy Meets World into Girl Meets World, and they just don't work the same way because they're trying to take the characters who were good as teenagers and then make them adults and then do all these other things. But I don't know, the shows just don't hit the same way. And then also because Disney formula with live action TV has gotten campier to the point where every single line has a laugh track behind it. Like it's like, "Hi guys," I'm like, okay.
Take me back to the days of Sweet Life with Zach and Cody.
Yeah, pretty much. I hear they're gonna reboot that soon, so I'm like,
oh, are they bringing back Dylan and Cole Sprouse?
That's what I've heard. They're gonna try and make them older. I've heard they're trying to revive everything from like old Disney because everyone liked old Disney, but the problem is they're making old Disney bad. And part of the reason with Raven's Home is like they couldn't bring back the entire original cast because some of them are in jail. But
childhood fame.
That and don't watch a Kim Possible movie. Just don't.
When the trailer came out, I was like, "Oh, really?" And then I watched some clips of it, like, "Oh, really?"
It's bad. It's bad.
It's okay. I don't know. I mean,
Don't.
yeah.
The plot is stupid.
Yeah, I watched a whole video essay on it. I mean, that's how much I cared about it, I guess. I don't know.
Same.
I feel like that makes me sound like I cared about it more than I actually did. I was just like, no, I'm curious. I want to know what the movie is about without actually watching the movie.
Sounds about
And
right.
there you go. And that's how we do it. And on that note, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll come right back. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. And welcome back from listening to ads. Thank you so much for listening to ads, not using ad block. Or, maybe we baked some of those ads into the file so you can't use ad block. Ha! We made you listen to them anyway.
Sneaky.
But, so, continuing our talk on revivals, what revival would you consider ugly or, really bad, but also just really popular? For an example, outside of Star Wars, I consider the 1998 Godzilla remake starring Matthew Broderick to be ugly. Because one, it's atrociously terrible, and two, it's very popular. You can mention it to pretty much anyone, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. That was a weird one."
Godzilla looked very ugly in that movie.
Yeah, and then I don't care about the 2014 Godzilla either, but that one's highly praised. So I mean, I won't consider that ugly, but just kind of like, whatever.
It was all right.
Not a good movie.
Bryan Cranston was there we thought he'd be there a lot longer, and then he just dies halfway through, and we're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I think it could have started with King of Monsters, honestly.
I guess
but,
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch will just handle this one.
Right. Yeah, and then none of them had any character whatsoever. It's
Nope.
great. I love movies with no character. Speaking of movies with no character, Ryan.
What?
Damn.
What does me? What does that mean?
Oh wait, sorry, I meant Zach.
I was like, what are you talking
Can I
about?
redo that real quick?
No, too late. You already messed up.
Speaking of
That's over.
Okay, fine,
You
Zach,
really messed up. I'm leaving all of this in. You messed up, man.
no.
My answer for ugly was just prequels and sequels of Star Wars. They're messy. It is what it is. We've talked about it so much. I'm just gonna move on to Ryan. Ryan, what do you think a ugly one is?
Cough, cough. The sequels are the only ugly
Oh my
ones,
god,
but,
get over it. Talk about Ben 10 for fuck's sake.
Well, gotta add the bleep there.
Yes, I say Ben 10 is probably ugly because I don't know if anyone watched Ben 10 when they were younger.
I did.
I did.
Ben 10 started off great. The kids, the original show, they had Alien Force, and then end of Alien Force was kind of rough. They went to Ultimate Alien. It was also very rough the entire through the series, and then we got Omniverse, and Omniverse was, and now we have the new series, and it hurts my childhood.
All you have to do is look up the art style and be like, oh yeah, that's not Ben 10.
You see the drastic change between the first three and the most recent two. It's just terrible. And also they have an alien that's a Lego. It's just literally a Lego.
I love that. That's awesome.
Oh.
And then also I would say Power Rangers, because Power Rangers is already campy and it's bad, but I mean, you gotta love it.
There's a weird fluctuation of quality with Power Rangers, but it's always it goes downhill, but then once in a while it's something comes up, it's like, oh well, that wasn't terrible.
Well, it's the TV series, the new ones, bad.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched them, but I've seen stuff from them, bad. The movie, okay. I say it's okay. Some people don't like it. Some people do.
I'm kind of middle of the road on it.
And then the comics are actually phenomenal. I've talked about it in the comic book episode, but they probably have one of the best multiverse stories I've seen, and that's including DC and Marvel. Like, I think they have probably the best one.
I do want to like say real quick. I want to watch rewatch Ben 10 soon because I want to do a Ben 10 episode because I think it's just like the ultimate like boy show.
It really is.
But I think I'll explain more when we get to the episode whenever that happens. But for your audience out there, look forward to a Ben 10 episode one day.
Woohoo!
So now that we're done talking about revivals are good, bad, and ugly, what are some properties that you want to see come back and be revived? Personally, I'm not really a nostalgic person, but I really like to see Batman Beyond have a strong comeback, or at least a stronger comeback than it currently has. Because right now, Batman Beyond is kind of going on as a comic book series. It's not very good.
Nope.
I feel like the animated show that the character was created from still has a lot more stories to tell, even though it ended on a pretty good note. So yeah, I would like to see it come back as like a live action movie or just come back as more animated adventures.
Fun fact about that: the show didn't even really end it because they have an episode. I don't know if you watched Justice League Unlimited. There's literally
they did. Yeah,
it's epilogue, which is supposed to be the actual conclusion for Batman Beyond's story because they were like, yeah, we kind of left it open ended. Let's actually conclude it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the only episode of Justice League Unlimited I watched because I want to know how Batman Beyond ends. Yeah, it made some interesting choices.
Yeah, it did. I agree, and I like it and don't like it, but I digress. Zach, what about you?
For me, like, instead of revived, because I am kind of like in the mindset of like a bunch of other people where it's like I'm tired of other things being brought back and rebooted. How about repurposed? So like, for example, like Cobra Kai, like it's not a movie. It wasn't like another like, oh, like Karate Kid's coming back. It was a Netflix series. It was a different way to take it in, I guess. So like what Kevin said, instead of a Batman Beyond show, why not make it like a limited series on HBO Max or something like that? Like, give it
the same thing.
Well, not instead of a cartoon. Like instead of a cartoon, make it like a live action.
Or like my ideal Batman Beyond revival would be like an R-rated limited series.
Yeah.
Still animated with the same style, but it's just darker.
Yeah, but I'm saying like a different way of like introducing. So like you said, Ryan, I don't think Ryan you've gone yet, but I'm seeing Static Shock, for example. Like that'd be a good movie. Like be a really good movie to see like in the theater and stuff like that instead of as a series or an animated series. So instead of like trying to bring back all these like TV shows and rebooting them, make them repurpose them in a different way, in a different medium, like video games, TV series, movies. Like let's change it up a little bit instead of just having like another Sweet Life on Deck reboot or another Ben 10 reboot. Like try and make it something different.
Make use of multiple mediums. To tell the story.
Yeah,
I mean The Matrix did that.
Yeah, and I think that's why Cobra Kai was more successful, was because it was easy to binge. It was everyone could access it. You'd have to go out and see a movie. So yeah,
Zach, the only thing I can say to that is that some things just don't work in the opposite medium. So like, I don't know, like you can make some Cobra Kai works better as a series because you can make it last longer. But you can't make some things be just a movie. I mean, like sometimes a movie doesn't work for a certain thing. Like that's why Avatar: The Last Airbender does not work as a movie. It works better as a series because you can make it a movie. But you also have to cancel out like half of what it was.
I think you could make that one's a special case, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't make Cobra Kai a video game.
You can, and I have it.
But you bought it?
Jordan bought it for $20.
There's a video game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
It's a Mortal Kombat style video game. It was during the GameStop
quote unquote
purge.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, quote unquote Mortal Kombat style video game.
That hurts me. That actually hurts me.
I'm so excited to play it.
Jesus. Okay, I know I just said like, hey, we shouldn't do this with video games or like making new mediums and stuff, and then I literally have in my thing, hey, why don't we have a thing of crossovers? And it's based off a video game I played when I was little, so I'm hypocrite. I'm sorry.
No, Ryan, go ahead. Yeah, go off what you're gonna say.
I don't know if you guys played the Cartoon Network game Fusion Fall.
Nope,
I tried to. It didn't work.
That's what I hear for a lot of people. It worked for me, but it like basically took all the Cartoon Network characters and put them in it's one whole universe, and they all interact with each other. You're an original character. It's stuff like that. Like I would like to see either characters like kind of crossing over. I would love to see a Ben 10 Generator Rex Secret Saturday series, seeing as they all kind of exist in the same universe. Or Ben 10 and Generator Rex. Ben 10 and Secret Saturdays exist in the same universe, and Generator Rex is a parallel universe. But also, I would like to see, just characters crossing over with each other. If that, then yes, revive Static Shock. Give me another Avatar series. Please, for the love of God, finish Wolverine the X-Men, because you left it on a cliffhanger, and I still don't know what happened to this day.
Courage the Cowardly Dog and Jake the Dog team up.
Yes, exactly. You got the kids next door fighting aliens with Ben 10, because
Johnny Bravo and Finn the Human team up.
Johnny Bravo and Samurai Jack.
It sounds like you guys just want a Cartoon Network cinematic universe. That's what you guys want.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, they have the best characters. I'm sorry, Nickelodeon.
They really do.
Nickelodeon's second best. I would love to see more than just Jimmy and Timmy. If you brought Nicktoons Unite, I guess that's as close as you got. But I mean,
but I feel like the characters of Cartoon Network were more well-rounded compared to Nickelodeon characters. I mean, obviously, there's a few exemptions of that, but it's, I don't know. It was just more, Cartoon Network was more grounded, but I think it was because it was seen, they wanted to be like the edgier quote unquote cartoons.
Yeah.
But they were like, they were still for kids, and it was like, I feel like the edginess is kind of more of an aesthetic, and then they had some really quality writing and jokes interweave with them as well.
I think they also had more action shows rather than some of the others, because I think the most action show they had on Nickelodeon was like Danny Phantom and Avatar.
Danny Phantom was like the real like game changer in terms of action in Nickelodeon TV.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, on that note, I was glad talking about revivals with you guys, because we're also getting a reboot. We're going to be replaced by new hosts next week. They're called Evan, Ack, and Ryan.
Man, you really reached for that one, huh? You really reached for that one.
Yeah, I really reached for that one. I mean, that's all reboots. Like, they always miss some part of the original. In the case of next week's episode, they missed the first letter of each of their names, but whatever.
Oh, God.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Committed Critics. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Crits. That's COMMITTED CRITS. You can follow us on YouTube at Committed Critics. Spelled the same there as it is everywhere else. And you can support us on Patreon. And special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman, for being awesome. And we'll see you guys next week. See ya.